That's it, right? Everything in barbecue is a 3-hour argument and Jerry Springer fist fight. That's pretty much how barbecue is. So I always tell people that have fun. If you're doing something that's working and you're taking walks at a contest, keep doing it. If you are no longer taking walks, then go ahead and change.
Welcome to the Pitmasters podcast. I'm Rusty Monson.
I'm Anthony Lujan.
On today's podcast, we have Harry Soo from Slap Yo Daddy BBQ competition team. He's got rubs, he's got classes, he's got YouTube videos, he's got a lot to tell you guys. So let's go. Okay, guys, you can find us on the normal stuff on Instagram, on Facebook, on the YouTubes, on the pitmasterspodcast.com, where you can find
and any of your favorite streaming networks.
Yeah.
That you can tell your friends. I've told people about our podcast, and they're like, well, I don't have that. Well, what do you have? We'll make sure it's there.
Yeah. And if you don't, you can just go to pitmasterspodcast.com and play it live right there on the page.
Exactly.
So that'll just take you to a default thing we have, and you can listen to it there. So no excuses.
Right. So before we turned on the mics today, Rusty, you cooked up a couple steaks and did a couple test runs.
You know, I think I might have said this before, but I'm on the SCA kick this year. I was obviously doing the KCBS, but yeah, you came over. We cooked up a couple SCA steaks and tried them out. We did 2 different recipes.
Yeah.
Played on the PK for a little bit and ate them, and they turned out really well. Now the decision is, so we're doing this thing where, I should say, where it's like King of the Mountain, right? Yeah. So we had that steak today. It was my favorite. Yeah. So that's King of the Mountain, right? So now we have to dethrone that steak. Right. So we'll keep on doing our cooks and testing, and then the best one keeps the winner. And so they have to come up and fight that one to win. But I have Sun City coming up in Arizona in a month or so. But here in Utah, we have a lot of SCA.
Yeah, we got 6 coming up. Speaking of SCA, Rusty was kind of fighting his grill a little bit this evening. So I'm just wondering how many of y'all go out there and tweak your PK grills. Like he was telling me some tips on, people are cutting holes in their grates to be able to add wood, welding on what did you say, like a little back
so
rail?
With the PK, what makes it hard is when you're scraping, those grill grates will slide on you. So a lot of people they'll solder a little bar on there so it keeps it in place. And then to the right and to the left, they'll cut out a little hole to put their wood in last minute. And also the grill grates came with 4 grates. I've started using only the 3, which helps a ton with space and stuff like that. So they've been modding out their PKs and stuff. And
if you're modding yours out there, just tag us and we'd like to check it out.
Please do. Cause you're right. I would love to see it cause I'm about to mod mine out and I would like to get it right the first time. So what else we got? We got, man,
it's kind of a dry time for us right now.
Time.
Yeah.
SCA. Just on the SCA train, we're going to do a lot of practice cooks for KCBS. We have 3 months off, so we're going to do a lot of practice. And I'm telling you, SCA Utah, I'm coming at you.
Not if I can help it.
I'm coming at you too. I'm coming at you, and I'm coming at you. Nice. Well, guys, we were honored to talk to the legendary Harry Soo from Slap Yo Daddy BBQ. And we talked with him about a whole bunch of stuff. So it was a really good interview.
Yeah.
And let's get to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, guys. Here's our interview with Harry Soo from Slap Yo Daddy. Enjoy it.
All righty, guys. We have an amazing guest today. We got the famous Harry Soo in-house.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Yeah. Say hi, Harry.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be on Rusty and Anthony's show. I'd be happy to answer all your viewer questions or podcast questions. And, let's not leave any stone unturned. Tell you all about barbecue and the secrets of how to become successful on a competition circuit.
Love it. So let's get started with that then. Where did you get started in barbecue?
I am one of those very unusual accidental pitmasters. I never imagined that I would be cooking barbecue. I arrived in America about 40 years ago to study computer engineering at Texas Tech. After I lost my job flying airplanes, I had to retrain for a new career. Ended up in little Lubbock, Texas. So for those of you who have ever been to Lubbock, Texas, it's the home of Buddy Holly. And in the first week of going to school as a freshman, my classmate took me out for barbecue. I ate 1 bite of brisket and 1 bite of Texas beef rib, and I fell in love with barbecue. spent the next 20 years figuring out how to reverse engineer Texas style barbecue, and I cooked it for family and friends. Never knew that I was any good at it until the movie The Bucket List, starring Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson about 10 years ago. And one of my coworkers at work said, hey, we all need to kind of make our own bucket list before we kick the bucket. And let's write stretch goals for each other. My coworkers knew I like to cook because I used to bring food in for the fundraisers at work. And they said, Harry, why don't you go enter a barbecue contest? And I decided that, okay, just to humor my coworkers, I would cook one contest. I brought the application form that I filled in for a contest in Palm Springs, and I called my team name The Bucket List. They looked at the name and they said, hey, that's a stupid name. Why don't we give you a name that's a lot more fun? I said, well, you guys can call it anything you want. I don't care. I'm never going to use it again. So apparently in the South, when you eat something you really, really like, it's so good that you want to go slap somebody. So since I'm a daddy, they say, why don't you call you Slap Yo Daddy? I said, that's a stupid name. But I said, fine, I'll humor my coworkers. So I wrote it down on a piece of paper on the application form. A long story short, I go do my first contest, brought in the entire kitchen, packed in my minivan, and ended up winning the contest. That's kind of how I started in barbecue. And that was about 10 years ago. And it's been a fantastic journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
It has been. I mean, since then you've done very well on the competition circuit. You don't do so many competitions anymore, but man, you tore it up for a minute. Talk about that. Like, what was that like when you first started winning a lot?
Oh, I basically won my first contest, my very first outing. So I thought it had to be a fluke. I just got lucky, and it kind of snowballed, and I ended up winning the California Rookie Team of the Year. And then Team of the Year, consecutive years. And then that was not enough. I went over to Arizona and became Team of the Year in Arizona 2 years in a row. So I was on a roll, and things kind of snowballed when they cast me on a TV show called Barbecue Pitmasters Season 1. I was at a contest in Northern California, and at about 12:25, 5 minutes before rib turning, my cell phone rings, and I pick it up. And the person on the other end says, hi, you don't know who I am. My name is, John Marcus, and I'm a TV producer. So I said, yeah. And I hung up because I thought it was one of my competitors pranking me, trying to get me disqualified on my rib entry. On the long drive home on Sunday, I told my partner, Mark, I said, I thought I had a dream in the middle of rib turning. Somebody's claiming to be some TV producer. And I picked up my phone and I looked at the call log, and lo and behold, yep. There was a call from New York. So I picked up the phone and I called John. And I found out that John was the producer for the Cosby Show. And he had been scouring the country looking for teams to feature on his show. And he had asked me to see if I was interested. So I called him back. Long story short, 2 days later, a pile of paper about an inch thick came from Discovery Channel. And they wanted me to sign a contract because they would shoot in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
So what is interesting about the story is that the story actually didn't start there. I found out several years later that Carolyn Wells, president of KCBS, had something to do with it because Carolyn Wells knows John Marcus. And John had already spent 2 years scouting Myron, Tuffy, Leanne, Paul, and Jamie, and everybody to put on his show. I was a last-minute wild card ad to the mix because John Marcus had already sourced 6 teams that he wanted to feature on his Master Season 1. I joined at the last minute with no audition, no screen test, no nothing. I just was put on the show. And when I got on the show, when I found out that there were 3 world champions, I asked myself, what the hell am I doing here cooking against some of these world champions? So I thought I would be kind of like the fish out of water story from California. And, for those who watch the series, they know that in the season finale, the little team from California end up aging everybody out.
That's true.
Yeah, very true.
I love that first season. That first season was something else. It was awesome. It was so cool. It was probably one of the best shows ever.
Yeah, we had a crew of 16 who followed us around the country. And, it was a very expensive shoot because every week we will be in a different location 1,000 miles away. And I always believe that in life, right, the universe will conspire to make things happen when the time is right. Because I there was no way that I could have a full-time job and then travel week after week, right? Shooting all these episodes all over the country. But lo and behold, one of my competitors and a good friend of mine, his name is Gary Notley from Notley Q. He so happened to lose his job right when this whole thing started. And then he asked me, he said, Harry, they asked you to be on a TV show. You can't be on it because you can't drive. Why don't I just drive your van every week for you to the next shoot location? You and your teammate fly in on Thursday night, cook Friday and Saturday, and fly back to work on Sunday. Fly back on Sunday, go back to work on Monday. So the only reason I could do that was really a lucky coincidence of a number of people coming into focus during the time when we were doing the shoot over a period of about 12 weeks.
Wow. So did they put, just as a fan, I want to know, did they make you do not make you, but did they have you do certain contests? Is it like kind of all set up, we're going to do these contests and we're all doing them together?
They picked these contests all over America, I guess because of the visual appeal and the dynamics and the energy and culture behind each location. We went to all of the, what I call landmark contests. Like the Big Pig Jig, we went to Decatur, Alabama, and it was also a way to fold in all the other supporting characters. For example, we went to Decatur, Alabama, we went to Big Bob Gibson's restaurant, and we ate there and we shot the whole scene there. So I think that John Marcus spent a lot of time planning out the whole show, because I learned from John later on that when you do an award-winning TV show, it's not really about the cooking. It's about the character, it's about the people, and it's about the interaction that the audience can relate to. So, for example, I have no talent, so I just play myself. I'm like the nerdy IT guy, and I guess I actually had quite a large following because after the show, when I went around America, people recognized me for who I am because I'm not your typical pitmaster.
Right. And California at the time wasn't really well known for that either. I mean, it was tri-tip and that's it. So, I mean, you kind of
and it was shocking to me that when we did the season finale, we shot it in Texas, and the whole setup was that we were going to Johnny's house and we would have a kind of trash talking session, and then we would challenge each other to a throwdown. And we shot it in Texas near Dallas in a dude ranch. And when I got there, they put me at the bottom of a hill, and I look up in the hill, and I got two little WSMs against all these expensive pits, right? that the other, pitmasters had. And I thought, wow, I'm in Texas cooking ribs against a 3-time rib world champion, and all the judges are from Texas, and they know Johnny. So I gave myself kind of like a snowball's chance in hell to do well that day. But lo and behold, at the end of the day, I ended up winning it and taking the money. I had to pry it from Myron's hands because till today, he tells me, Harry, we're going to get you.
So do you go and compete against those guys often currently?
Yeah, we cross paths a lot of times. I am kind of slacked off from my heyday, primarily because I'm shifting my focus now to kind of passing my knowledge on to the next generation. I've won all these awards around America. It's time to shift gears and then kind of pass it on. I always like to tell people that in life, there's 3 phases. The first phase is when you are 20 years old to 40 years old. You have to learn from everybody you meet so that you can be, kind of like you hone your craft. Once you hit 40 years old to 60 years old, you take what you learn in the first 20 years. And you be the best that you can be in any field that you want to be. You can be an accountant, you can be a father, a mother, a dad, whatever you're going to be the best that you can be. And when you hit the last phase of life, between after 60 years old, you really are just the sand in your hourglass is running down. So at that point in time in phase 3, your job is to pass everything you know to the next generation. So I'm at that third phase in life. And if you watch my YouTube channel, I openly and willingly give away all of the secrets that took me to so many grand championships. I think I won in excess of 30 plus, and I won 100 plus first places around the world. So all that knowledge is being put on YouTube on my channel and given away freely to anybody who wants to watch.
And that's a good segue because your YouTube channel right now is something like my team particularly we go to all the time. So our go-to is always first. I always Google how to barbecue right. And then your channel. So the Harry Soo channel. So it's the first 2 things I do if I want a recipe. So first of all, we talked about this off this podcast, but I'm a huge fan of yours. I watched a lot of your videos, pretty much I mean, not all of them because there's a lot, but I always watch yours as they come. So I really appreciate the work you're doing on there. But tell me about the YouTube channel. How'd that come about?
The YouTube channel is another accident. So it's like my life is full of these fortuitous accidents. So I teach barbecue classes in my backyard a couple of times a month. And the classes are also an accident because my coworker showed up at my doorstep one Saturday morning and said, Harry, you cannot keep making excuses not wanting to teach us barbecue. We're here, so teach us a class. So I taught my coworkers, and they go back and tell the building I work with, there's 1,000 people. And then everybody at work kept bugging for classes. And I said, why don't I just teach 2 classes a year and get people off my back? And next thing you know, it snowballed into like two a month. Wow. So I've taught in excess of 250 classes around the world. Wow. So the story for the class led to my YouTube situation because I had a student. He runs a knife sharpening channel called Perfection. His name is Ricky Tran. So he's a very well-known knife sharpener on YouTube. So after class, right, I told him, hey, Ricky, I taught you how to cook barbecue. I have I have 45 knives. They're all dull, and I really don't know how to sharpen knives. He said, yeah, why don't you come to my place in Los Angeles, and I'll teach you how to sharpen knives. So I drove over to Ricky's place, brought out my dull knives, and then he sat down. We started sharpening knives, and I knew he had a YouTube channel, and he said, hey, is it okay if I turn on the camera? I thought to myself, okay, fine. Who wants to watch 2 guys sharpening knives? So we sat there and he taught me how to sharpen knives over like 90 minutes, right? And that video had 50,000 views.
Wow.
So I thought to myself, wow, people actually pay attention to stuff like that. So he said, yeah, Harry, you should try to like shoot some cell phone footage of what you do and put it on YouTube and see what happens. I said, yeah, I got nothing to lose. And I'm out cooking barbecue every weekend anyway. It doesn't hurt for me to just turn on my cell phone and shoot some rocky, shaky, bad video. And I started posting, and next thing you know, I'm approaching 90,000 subscribers. So it's really crazy the way the world has there's such a hunger and thirst for how to cook competition style barbecue.
And you have a crazy good way of explaining everything. That's the best part, I think, because you use your cell phone on your videos, and sometimes it's in your left hand and you're using your right. And so you're not up here with like your Canon cameras and all that stuff, but the way that you go about teaching is so unique. And that's what draws me, because I just want to listen. Okay, you just get so detailed in everything. It almost feels like there's, like you said before the podcast started, there's like no stone left unturned. If you're going to focus on something, you're going to focus on it entirely, and you're almost like, no stone left unturned. So, I mean, you did a knife sharpening when I watched. You busted out every single knife sharpening option there is, and you went through each and every one of them. And I remember one you did with a chicken, you did all the chicken kinds. You had 18 different kinds of chicken. You jacquard one, and then you meat glue one, and all that stuff. I mean, it's kind of insane the amount of time you put into these and the amount of detail that comes out of each one.
That stems from my personality. I'm a naturally curious person, and I always believe that, if you want to know something, I don't want to believe, I want to know. Does it make sense at all?
Yeah.
I don't want to believe, right? So if somebody says something, I say, fine, okay, let me know it, and let me do it, and let me have a first person account, right? For example, I just had a guy who told me that he actually takes his brisket in competition and he throws in a crawfish boil. I thought, you do what?
Wow.
So he said that he won second place out of 17 teams by putting his brisket into a crawfish boil. And I said, that's so, Jason. So, okay, man, if you tell me you did it, I will take you on face value of your word, and I'm going to throw a brisket into a crawfish boil and cook it and see what the result. So I do all these crazy experiments more to amuse myself. And I shoot the video and I post it online to see other people who are as curious or as crazy as I am. I recently did the fried brisket, right? So what the hell, who wants to fry a brisket? But I thought, what the heck, go fry a brisket and find out yourself.
Right. That's awesome. And then also on the YouTube channel, it's not just competition stuff either. It's like you said, it's different out of the box stuff or just beginner entry level stuff as well.
Yes, I kind of, it's almost like a video diary, for lack of a better description. That's why YouTube's algorithm really punishes me, because I learned that YouTube's algorithm, right, tries to push you into different genres, and then it rewards you by posting your videos to a lot of people, giving you a lot of exposure when YouTube's algorithm thinks that you are doing what you should be doing in your genre. So my content is kind of like all over the map, right? On some days I'm doing a restaurant review, some days I'm hanging out with friends, some days I'm coaching new teams, some days I'm teaching new teams, some days I'm kind of like traveling to Australia, traveling around the country, some days I go and compete, and a lot of days I just cook whatever's on my kind of like agenda for the day. So my content is very eclectic, and I'm just amazed, right, that people are following me, because there is no rhyme or reason on what happens on my channel. I just post everything like a video diary of what Harry's up to, and I pretty much post it raw. There's not a lot of like fancy editing, and there's not a lot of what they call Hollywood style effect. It's just raw footage of me doing my stuff.
And I love it. So we appreciate it.
Yes.
You kind of took that eclectic into this online class you can take that you have to purchase. It's called Barbecue Stars. And you do a whole bunch of it's a very polished version, but I mean, it's barbecue stuff, but it's not competition, and it's a little bit different than most, because you do sambal, and you make all these different like Thai spicy chili flank steaks and volcano barbecue chicken and all sorts of different crazy stuff on it. And it's a really, really interesting class because you go through a lot of the science of flavors and using flavored oils and stuff like that. Talk to us a little bit about that Barbecue Stars class.
The Barbecue Stars was something that they reached out to me and they asked me, would I like to be on this sort of like pay-per-view kind of a show? And I had no experience doing anything like that. I've appeared on TV in multiple shows like Chopped, Grill Master, Smoke, stuff like that. But this was something that was very unique. So the pitch was that it's a pay-per-view, and then we would get a residual from the views. And I thought, okay, hey, in life, right, if the revenue is currently zero, anything higher than zero is not necessarily a bad thing. Because as you probably know, a lot of my barbecue work goes to barbecue philanthropy. I already have a great job. I build data centers for a living. I have a good working life. So for me, barbecue is more a way to kind of give back. So I contribute to Operation Homefront for the troops and their families, and also for charities like Save the Children. So when they approached me, I thought, okay, it's a way of maybe making an extra few bucks and then be able to donate to my favorite charities. So they wanted me to do something that was different, because they had all the top people, like Tuffy and all, doing all their kind of barbecue meat. So they say, Harry, you're Asian. Why don't you do Asian Flair, like FLARE, Asian Flair barbecue? So it allowed me to kind of delve into the toolkit that I had assembled over the years, because I'm not a classically trained cook. I had zero training in cooking. I am kind of like an MMA cook, like a mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
So I learned judo, and if judo doesn't work, I'll learn jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu doesn't work, I will learn kickboxing. So in cooking, right, because I enjoy cooking and eating foods, I learn different techniques from around the world. And that's why when I compete, you can never, forecast what Harry's going to do, because Harry will do crazy stuff because his toolkit of techniques and tools is very, very deep. So I thought, hey, why don't I showcase Asian Flair barbecue? Because a lot of the American style barbecue techniques that I deploy have roots back in Asia, where I grew up, where we really experiment with different kinds of flavors. So I thought, hey, I'll sit down, I'll develop 15 unique recipes that are not on my YouTube channel to showcase some of these Asian Flair concepts. And the way I work is my brain works in Lego blocks. So when I try to do something, I never tell people to copycat me. I teach people the framework by which I build my recipe techniques and strategies. So people who take my class, they say, Harry, your class is very helpful, not because you share your recipes, but because you explain the framework by which you reach excellence in each one of your recipes category, whether it's vegetables, whether it's meat, seafood, and so on. So I had a chance to kind of stretch my wings and show people that, hey, my barbecue cooking is based on a lot of years of experimentation and using Asian ingredients and Asian components as my base.
Yeah, I highly recommend everyone. You're cooking up squid. You're doing all sorts of fun stuff on that thing.
Yeah, at first I was worried. I said, who the hell wants to see me cook a squid? Because most Americans have not, I know that Meathead told me he watched my episode and said, Harry, I did not know even how to clean squid. And I say, we grew up eating that stuff. So for us, it's pretty normal. Just like, I know sometimes in America, people can, they shoot squirrels and they cook squirrels and they know how to clean and gut a squirrel. I wouldn't know how to do a squirrel, but I do know how to do a squid because that's what we eat back in Asia.
That's awesome.
I don't know how to cook a squirrel.
I do.
Oh, you don't know how to cook a squirrel? We have to. I have a date with my buddy Scott in Texas, and he's going to teach me how to prep a squirrel.
It's pretty good.
So there will be a
real
barbecue
simple.
squirrel episode coming.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Now I'll know.
Hey, those are my people. We're the squirrel eating people. So that's what we do. Yeah. So I highly recommend that class, especially if you want to do something a little bit different. That's not, that you can do on, you talk a lot about on that different kind of grills and all sorts of fun stuff on there. So there's a lot on there if you guys are interested in that. We are no way affiliated with them, by the way.
They have a unique marketing style. It's kind of like Disney, like, Cinderella comes once and then it's gone for 7 years. So I'm a little bit puzzled by their marketing strategy because the class is no longer offered. So they made us, we shot the whole thing. They edited, they put out 100 different videos, right? And they put it for a certain amount of time. And then after that, they closed the enrollment. So you cannot get it anymore. And I know they opened it up recently for Christmas for a little while and now it's closed. So even if people wanted to get to buy the class, they can't even do that. So it's a kind of unusual marketing strategy. And then you put your name on a wait list and the next time it opens up again, you have a chance to purchase the class. So I'm not used to that style of marketing, but they know hopefully they know what they're doing.
That's yeah. Okay. I forgot about that. I'm glad to point that out. So yeah, get on the list then because it's interesting. It's a cool thing. A lot of my favorite people are on there. So I always like to plug it when I can. I wanted to kind of go back into let's talk about cooking for a minute. You had said, and I think I quoted you on our first podcast about your charcoal preference was whatever is cheap. What is your philosophy on charcoal?
Well, you use whatever charcoal you can and ask yourself what is the goal, right? The goal is just to cook food, right? Any kind of BTU source is fine. If you're not particularly fussy about the smoke flavor and the final result, I will say, just have fun and cook and don't agonize over charcoal. If you are a competitor, then it's a little different story. As a competitor, we fuss over every single minute detail. And wood is important because the pyrolysis of the lignin in the wood is the magic of barbecue. I have these videos that explain in great detail the science behind wood and how to maximize the creation of the compound needed from the evaporation of the wood to provide the magic of barbecue. In that regard, when I actually cook competition, I'm always fine-tuning my approach, picking the right wood and the right BTU. I had a very good success with one that I'm using right now called Jealous Devil, which is a Paraguayan axe wood. It's really hard wood. It gives beautiful flavor, smoke ring, and then it's mild enough so that I can enhance it with wood that I like. In the past, when I used the blue bag of charcoal, the blue bag has a very strong flavor. So it essentially kind of overpowers or masks any kind of nuances that I try to introduce in the final product for competition. So now that I'm more kind of a seasoned barbecue pitmaster, I like to experiment with the different notes that are available from different kinds of woods. I need a base wood that is pleasant and neutral, that does not overpower the flavor notes from the wood that I'm trying to introduce into the final product for competition. So when you get to my stage, when you go to bed at night, right, and you dream about your vacation, I go to bed and dream about all of the different wood flavors I can create through the magic of barbecue.
Nice. Yeah. Those are beautiful dreams, right? I bet you wake up refreshed every morning.
Like I said, when you get to be a barbecue competitor, we're all OCD people, whether we admit it or not. We are all OCD. We obsess over the tiniest detail. Whether we're using a 14 gauge injection needle or we're using a 12 gauge injection needle, we obsess over these kinds of things.
And so you think, what do you use? So in a competition, you think like a Jealous Devil kind of thing is a little bit better just because it doesn't really mess with the flavor of maybe the pecan wood you put in and it burns a little hotter. So when you use WSMs and I use
WSMs and the process of cooking is, like I said, right? Everything in barbecue is a 3-hour argument and Jerry Springer fist fight. Right? That's pretty much how barbecue is. So I always tell people that have fun. If you're doing something that's working and you're taking walks at a contest, keep doing it. If you are no longer taking walks, then go ahead and change. What I try to do in my class is I break down the phenomena of barbecue into 10 knowledge areas. And I explain and I teach how each knowledge area works so that you have a fantastic toolkit to be able to assemble your own style of cooking. For example, some people, they like only a certain kind of smoker, right? That's the way they cook. Let's say you have a drum person, they want only one drum. And that's fine. I always tell people it's never about the pit. It's always about the pitmaster. So if the pitmaster is capable, if you look at the top 50 teams in America on the KCBS ranking, you notice a great diversity of equipment. So it's really not just the equipment, not just the wood, not just the technique, but it's how you put it all together. Because I always tell people winning a barbecue contest, like a KCBS contest, is like tuning a 12-cylinder engine, right? The 3 cylinders that you have is appearance, taste, and tenderness multiplied by 4 meats. So on the day where all 12 cylinders are firing perfectly is the day that you might have a chance to snag a grand championship. If you falter in even one of those pistons, right, it's all going to fall apart because it's really, really competitive now to win a contest. You've got to score over 700 points.
Yeah, it's very difficult. That's a really good analogy.
Yeah, I like that.
I've thought about that before.
Right. So, as you continue to teach classes, how many classes are you teaching a year?
I was averaging between 25 to 30, and that was kind of dragging me down because I really want to also continue to do my YouTube channel. I teach a lot of advanced judging classes, pro bono. I coach teams. Like last Saturday, I was at an event in Northern California where new teams start off, and it's like a kind of a backyard contest. But when you come to the contest, you pay a small fee to cover the expenses. You get live judging. Like American Idol, where you face Simon Cowell. That was kind of a judging. And then what we do is all of us, pitmasters and judges, right? We have the teams present the food to us, and we openly critique them. Wow. And that is a phenomenal way to learn because, when I go to a contest, all I get is a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers behind it. There's really no explanation. So I want to do more of these kind of give back to the barbecue community classes to train the next generation of pitmasters. So let's say you come to one of these backyard events that we do, you can cook 5 entries and you could be 5 types of ribs. Does that make sense? You don't have to follow any routine. So let's say you want to tune your chicken game, you can cook chicken 5 ways and present it 5 times to 5 different panels of judges. And every panel will give you honest feedback, and it's open scoring. So I'll tell you, hey, I gave you chicken an 8, and here's the reason why on appearance. I gave the same chicken a 7 on taste. I give you a 5 on tenderness, and I explain why. That is invaluable information to new cooks and seasoned cooks alike. We have some pro teams, right? They come to these events and they cook their heart out. They bring their Wagyu, they bring their Durocs, and they bring their Berkshires. And they turn it into open judging so that the judges give them open, candid, unfiltered input on what worked and what didn't.
Wow, that's intense. That'd be awesome to.
And these are all KCBS judges?
These are all KCBS, and they do these events once or twice a year, and I want to be part of that. We also, as part of the journey, also train advanced judges. So we have a 8-hour class with 10 different instructors, and we go really deep dive into areas that we believe that a judge should know. Like I cover the taste module, so I cover the physiology of taste. I cover all the chemicals involved in taste. So it's really, really like a really scientific class. And we want to try to do more of that on the West Coast because we want to kind of up our knowledge in barbecue along the West Coast. I know there's been a lot of interest around the country. People are asking us, hey, what are we doing here? We're training judges, we're training teams. We're trying to kind of give it back to the community of barbecue folks who make this sport so great.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
We need to be doing that here in Utah.
Yeah, we do.
We were thinking about doing something similar to that, but that's kind of next level right there. I like that. So you're kind of like, it's almost like you're taking it upon yourself to really dial in those judges even. Cause I know a lot of people, for me, I went into the KCBS judging, but that was it. That's, I could take a class if I want again, but there's no real way for me to go, hey, kind of like a team would. Yeah. So a team, we can talk about, hey man, how'd you cook this? Hey man, how'd you cook this? But judges don't really get to sit around that much and talk about why did they, what do you look for and this and that. And that's a cool way to be able to retrain them a little bit, or, continual training is the word I like to use.
Yeah. I mean, you heard of the table of death, right? The table of angels and everything. So I think a lot of this is due to maybe lack of education. So for example, I'll give you an example, like last Sunday, right? One team turned in the meat. and the pieces of meat were too short. And then one judge said that I marked you down because the pieces of meat were too short. And we had to explain to the judge, you can't judge a team, right? Because he or she turned in ribs that were smaller. You can't give more point to big ribs versus small ribs. It's very
Right.
if the ribs have great appearance, they have symmetry, they're properly arranged, they look neat and tidy and look beautiful, you got to give it a 9. You can't penalize a team, right, who gave you a beautiful presentation and you gave them an 8 because you thought that the ribs were too small.
You should have so what's your 1 to 10 rib size score, sir?
Yes, exactly.
You have a measuring tape?
Yeah, and that was illuminating to the judge because I won't say name, but he or she had been doing that for a while. And then when that judge heard some of the other feedback, then they realized that, wow, that's really not fair to kind of penalize a team because of the size of the sample. Because you're there to judge appearance, taste, and tenderness. There's no such thing as appearance that the bigger the piece, the rib, means that you score higher. There's no such thing in the rule book.
Right.
So when you were in the full swing of things, I mean, you were just hammering folks. I mean, you came in like gangbusters and just top 5 first places. I mean, I'm looking you up on barbecue data right now, and back, when you were doing a lot of contests, I don't think you got anything less than top 10, and mostly you didn't get less than top 5. So
yeah, I hit it hard for 3 years, and then I realized that after a while, you find that your body can't take it anymore because I used to cook about 30 to 40 contests a year. Remember, there's only 50 weekends in a year.
right.
So I would leave my driveway on Wednesday morning in Los Angeles. I drive to Kansas City, get there Thursday night, cook Friday, cook Saturday, Sunday morning, drive home, reach my driveway on Monday night, go to work on Tuesday. So I wore 16 men. Their wives told them, you are not going out with Harry anymore because you went out with Harry every single weekend. So I was on a crazy, tear because I think that not many people can win 7 GCs a year, 3 years in a row. So that was the kind of pace I did. And after a while, you realize that when you come back from a contest, right? Usually by Monday or Tuesday, I'm back to 100% and able to work. But now as I get older, I realize 1 week later, I'm still tired.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's a sign that the physicality of competing is catching up on me because I don't have an RV. I don't drive around in a $250,000 RV, right? The trailer in the back, with air conditioning and creature comfort. I basically empty my kitchen, load in my minivan. I drive my minivan for hours and hours and hours. I compete, right? And I load everything in my minivan and drive it home. So I actually have to do 6 days a week just to keep up the pace. And I realized that, for one, because I've already won all the awards, let other people win these awards. So there's no need to hog all the awards in America.
So you're like
some
the
people don't
Klitschko
think
brothers,
that, but yeah.
the heavyweight boxers that would not fight each other for the
Right.
title. They finally had to give it up.
Yeah.
And time to pass on the torch to the next generation. And it's always amazing to me that a lot of the new teams, they take my class and they do well. Like, I went to Sydney, right? I trained all the Australians on the east coast of Australia. One of my students won 7 GCs in Australia. Then the people in Western Australia got fed up. So they say, Harry, come to Perth and teach us how to cook barbecue. So I went to Perth, taught a whole bunch of people in Western Australia. And now Western Australia and Eastern Australia are able to battle. So next week, in fact, tomorrow I'm heading to New Zealand because the New Zealand people said, we're getting our butts kicked, Harry. You need to come down to New Zealand and teach us what you do so we can go battle them Australians.
A black belt competition barbecue.
All by Harry Soo.
I have actually seeded barbecue in Kuala Lumpur, in Korea, in London, Hawaii, Canada, all around the world. So my job, right, is to pass on what I know to the next generation so that, they too can reach the level of excellence that, that is world class.
So what kind of advice would you have for a barbecue team right now? For example, I'm coming up on my year anniversary of I've only been doing this for just under a year, competition anyway. So what kind of advice do you have for someone like myself who's new to barbecue, wants to kind of kick up their game a little bit? What's some advice you can give to someone like myself?
There's some basic things that you must do. Number one, take a KCBS judging class. That's a no-brainer. Right? Okay. Number two, go to actual barbecue contests and visit with teams. Number three, if you can, try to take a barbecue class. because that will jumpstart your learning curve. Because people tell me, they come to my class, Harry, in your class in 6 hours, you jumpstart my learning curve 3 years. Because if I had to do the brute force attack that you had to do to figure out all these different methods, it would take me a long time. And then the idea also, you should go out and compete in the backyard category, because before you turn pro, you should cook in the backyard, right? Don't do like what I did. I just showed up and ordered my smokers off Amazon on Wednesday. They came on Friday. I took it brand new to a contest on Friday night.
Nice.
and packed my entire kitchen with me. Had no idea what I was doing. And I just got lucky and I won my first contest. But today it's a lot harder, because there are a lot of people like me who are putting out videos and teaching people. So the level of beginner barbecue is really very high. I would encourage beginners to kind of get started slowly. I would encourage all of the senior pitmasters to help the new team. Give them a heads up and then help them get started, because we need more people to be exposed to the wonderful sport of competition barbecue.
Heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we try to do that with ourselves. Like, we're trying to do something some of you guys are doing, where we take the barbecue backyard guys and kind of help them out. Trevor from Salt City Barbecue, or Salt City Drum Smokers.
Yep.
He has drums that he makes out here, but he had an idea we were going to do where you do a backyard and you as a pro team, kind of join the team, and you hang out with them and you cook with them and show them stuff. And so
almost like a pro-am.
Yeah. I think that kind of stuff's really important that people should do and reach out more, because when I was first starting out, I was a little shy. I was really shy, but it was hard for me to get into that, doing that stuff and getting to know people. So I went to take the class, but now that I'm talking to people, you're right. Just going around to competition and just talking to guys. I mean, I love to give people what I know. That's why we're doing this podcast. Yep. But if you're out there, just go out. And that's a good point. Just go out to a contest and just talk to people. I mean, at the appropriate times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just came from the PNWBA Pacific Northwest Barbecue Society Association in Portland, and they have a very interesting program. So what they do is they have a class, right? And then you bring your equipment. So it's kind of like, at 7 a.m., you go to the teacher's booth, and all the teams that show up, right, get a lesson. And then you go back to your booth and you cook it. And then another lesson, and another hour later, you go and you learn and you cook. So to me, that is a great way to teach people how to cook, because a lot of people can go and take a class, but the class, you're watching someone else cook. But in this format, you bring all your equipment, you set up your booth and your tent and your pit, and then you can cook it your way, or you can go take a class from a teacher. And I thought that was fantastic, because that way you can meld your style with the style of a professional pitmaster, and kind of jumpstart your learning curve.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's way cool. So your classes, let's talk about those for a second. What do you focus on primarily in your classes in California?
My class in California focuses on using competition style techniques in a backyard setting. Obviously, if I teach full-on competition in my class, that's not the goal, because there's only 7,000 professional teams in America. So the kind of the audience is very small. What I want to try to do is teach people to understand the techniques and processes for competition, simplify it for them so they can apply it in a backyard setting and become barbecue heroes in their own backyard. That's my focus of the class. And because I teach a lot of competition techniques, a lot of competition teams find my techniques extremely helpful, because I show them a lot of black belt tricks that I've used to solve different competition problems. And usually my classes are about maybe 20% competitors and 80% backyard folks.
But as a competitor, you go to your class, like you say, you're learning about a lot of technique and stuff like that, but as well. So it would make sense for someone who is a competitor to take your class.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people my class is sort of like, the Insanity Workout. I don't know if you ever seen late night TV where they sell that DVD series called Insanity Workout.
Yeah.
Yep.
My class is the Insanity Workout. I can guarantee you no barbecue instructor in America runs a 6-hour class hands-on and cooks 20 over items. That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
So in my class, right, we throw everything at you, including your kitchen sink, pun intended. And not only do we just cook the 4 meats, we cook other stuff like seared ahi tuna. We make a jalapeno poppers. I teach you how to grill a SDA steak. So there's a lot of content in the class. So much so that, like Myron takes 3 days to teach class. I teach in 6 hours, right? 20 over items from scratch. So it is a jam-packed class. That's why, people keep coming back. I have people who come back to my class 5 times. And I say, am I such a bad instructor You have to take my class again and again. And they say that, wow, you just pack so much in your class that we're not able to absorb everything. So we master a couple of different things in one class, and then we come back to learn more, because I really it's like drinking from a fire hose. I share like a Vulcan mind. I share everything.
Like a fire hose.
Yeah.
I like that. That's awesome. So you touched on SEA a little bit. You do some SEA videos, but you don't necessarily compete on them, but you have a video on there. Do you plan on doing a lot more SEAs?
Yeah.
Or?
I love SEA, and the thing is, SEA is not common on the West Coast. So if I want to compete in SEA, right, I got to jump on an airplane and fly, to Texas or somewhere. I would love to do that. So what I try to do is I hook up with Johnny Joseph. Johnny Joseph is a 3-time world champion. He's kind of like my SEA mentor. Like Junior Uriah is my buddy, so he's also SEA competitor. So I would love to be able to do more SEA stuff. So what I thought is, just for kicks and giggles, I'll just put out my version of how I would cook an SEA contest. And I'm just amazed that video has over 1 million views, and people around the world, around the country, are actually using my exact recipe that I posted on my SEA video, and they are winning first place with it. I had a team from Australia. They won their Australian championship. They ended up in America, in Texas, for the world championship. So I'm always, so ecstatic when I hear stories like that. And I put up a version, like a part 2 of the same SEA. And one of these days, I'm going to go out and, hang out with my SEA buddies and actually cook an SEA contest. I have not had a chance to cook it. I've judged an SEA contest, but I haven't had a chance to cook it because it's not so common on the West Coast.
Well, we have 6 coming up here in Utah, so you should look into one of our events out here.
I should. And then maybe I can borrow a little, PK grill, and then join the PK SEA camp.
We got you.
Yeah, we got you.
We have some.
I mean, Johnny Joseph called PK and say, hey, that guy, crazy guy, Harry, he needs to see how good a PK grill. The next thing I know, a box showed at my front door, and the nice folks in the PK sent me a PK grill. I had a chance to work with it. It's absolutely fabulous. I don't think there's any finer SEA steak cooker than the PK grill.
Oh, I agree. I love that thing. And just cooking at home. I just love the options, because it's so...
Yeah.
I mean,
and then Brad Barron's grill grades, right? I always tell people, you got to get a grill grade, because I actually travel with the grill grade. So like, for example, I'm going to New Zealand, right? I'm going to pack my grill grades with me in the luggage. So I never leave home without my grill grades.
Right. So when you're cooking a steak, what's the most important part of the process? Is it the prepping the meat, seasoning it, cooking it to perfection, resting? What do you feel like is the most honed in part you should look at?
I would say that the most important thing is getting a good piece of meat. Obviously, I will be the first to admit I cannot take hamburger and make it filet mignon. I'll be the first to admit that, right? So I'm not one of those people that can, take a very low grade of beef and then make it in a high grade. The quality of the meat is very important. In the SCA context, you really don't have a choice, because the way it works is, I don't know if your podcast listeners know SCA, but SCA, they provide the steak. A lot of people don't know that. Like in HCD, we're doing our own meat, so you can go buy the most expensive meat in the world, but in SCA, you cannot. So it's like kind of like everybody drives the same race car.
Yep.
It's not like how fast your car is. Everybody has the same car. It's how you drive the car that's important. That's why SCA is such a great equalizer. For people who want to kind of like boast and brag, well, you go to SCA contest and prove that you're good because you're driving the same car as everybody else. When I go to a contest and I'm using a $300 Wagyu, right? It's really not fair to a person who had to go to Walmart and buy a brisket from Walmart and cooking against me. But in SCA, the beautiful thing about it is that everybody selects their steak from a pile based on a bung. So if you're bung number 1, you get to pick first, but then you go back to the line to be the last person to pick in the second round. You got to cook 2 steaks. So a lot of teams will cook 1 steak to make sure that they can get the tenderness right, and then the second steak is the one they turn in. So I think that is a great equalizer. And you can use gas, you can use electricity, you can use anything you want. You can use a blowtorch to cook the steak. There's none of these funky rules of charcoal and everything else. You cook with whatever you have, and I think that's absolutely fabulous.
And I've cooked we had success with your recipe on the YouTube channel. And a lot of people say, well, I would never eat that steak at home. I'm like, dude, you have to try this Harry Soo's friggin' SCA steak, because you'll start eating that at home too.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many trolls have trolled me on that thing and saying that how can I use all those chemicals? And I just ask them a basic question: have you eaten Doritos? Have you eaten a McNugget?
Yeah.
The same sodium phosphate, right? The same monosodium glutamate that's in the McNugget is in that ingredients I use. So it's nothing terribly unusual. But, we have the world is full of all these trolls who are what I call keyboard cooks. They don't really cook. All day long, they serve the internet on their keyboard. And they consider themselves experts. So now when I teach my students, I have a 3-to-1 rule. So Harry says, for every 1 hour you spend online watching videos, including mine, you must cook 3 hours. If you have not cooked 3 hours, do not touch the keyboard again. Cook another 3 hours, and you allow 1 hour to serve the internet, because the internet is full of what I call inaccurate information. There's a lot of people who are on the internet, and all they are, they read all these websites, they watch too many videos, and they pontificate, and they consider themselves GOT. A GOT is called a guardian of tradition. They make themselves the hoity-toity know-all, and then they criticize and they pulverize people who don't conform to their GOT traditions, which they have no basis to do. Like I tell people that I can only show you what I want, what I've done to win first place USA. And then people argue with me saying I'm doing it wrong. It's like, hello.
Man, I'm a big fan of
not
MSG.
arguing with you. Yes, and I'm telling you that MSG is found in naturally in a lot of foods. Like when they eat Parmesan cheese, that cheese has MSG. When they have soy sauce, it has MSG. When they eat marinara sauce, it's MSG. But they will argue you to death, because I always remember, right, that 3 out of 100 Americans believe that the world is flat. That is 6 million Americans. So imagine a city 3 times the size of Chicago. They believe that the world is flat, and they will go to their deathbed believing that. And how can you argue against these people?
Right. Well, we're sitting right next to the king of MSG right now,
Yes,
Anthony, who his
MSG.
pork recipe is, I don't know, who cares, because he puts a half a pound of MSG when to finish it off.
But I win.
Right? It works. I use it all the time. I mean, I add it back because like Smoking Gun's hot. They took it out, and so I have to put it back in. Whenever I get one, I have to cut my MSG back into that thing.
Yeah.
So I get that. And so when we use yours, you use that in there too. But man, and your seasonings too. We should get wrapping up here, but I really want to touch on your seasonings and stuff, because they're unique. They're different. Yeah. You can go to any, barbecue pit stop here locally in Utah, and you can taste all these rubs, and they're different. They're also, you get Harry Soo's, and you're just like, boom. Okay. That's different. So talk to us about your rubs and why they're so different.
I blended the rubs to win contest, and I never imagined that I would sell the rubs. But what happened was, after I was on the show Barbecue Pitmasters season 1, I got a phone call. The guy said, "Hey, my name is David, and I noticed that you use these rubs on the show. Do you sell the rubs?" I said, "I don't sell the rubs. I just make them for myself." He said, "Well, I so happen to own a rub company. Would you like to partner with me?" So essentially, out of a phone call and a handshake, we started this rub business 10 years ago. And when we first started selling the rub, we didn't even have a bottle. We just sold it in a little plastic bag, like a little marijuana bag. So I thought, who would buy this product in a little plastic bag? In the first month, we sold $1,000 worth of rub. So I thought, wow, with no advertising and a crappy container, we sold $1,000. So because I do barbecue for charity, I thought, hey, I'll use some of the proceeds from the rub to kind of benefit charity. And the rubs themselves were formulated to win contests. I never imagined that, people would want to use it for the backyard, because it has ingredients. The earlier version had MSG, but I kind of backed off on MSG. I use other ingredients right now. For example, I use Worcestershire powder. What is Worcestershire powder? Worcestershire powder is MSG. So, when you don't use the word MSG, then people think it's okay, but it's chemically the same. Right? Monosodium glutamate is monosodium glutamate. Whether it is in fish sauce, in soy sauce, in Worcestershire, in marinara sauce, in Parmesan cheese, it is the chemical. So what I've done is I've carefully adjusted my components to reflect natural ingredients. For example, I use a class of chemicals called inosinates and guanolates, which are very potent flavor enhancers. They're found in shiitake mushrooms and bonito flakes and everything. So what I did was I actually put mushroom powder into my rub. I wanted a bit of acid, so I put citric acid. So I blended all these custom rubs for myself, and we put it into a bottle, and then we decided to sell it. And then my co-packer told me, "Harry, what are you stupid? Why are you putting maple sugar into your rub?" I say, "Well, that's the best flavor. I want maple sugar." He says that the ingredient cost is too high. You can't make any money. I say, "David, I'm not interested in making money. I'm just interested in putting out a great product out there." So I think that a lot of teams have started using the product, and they seem to have success. And, we will continue that journey. I am in the process of trying to kind of get that critical mass for the rub business a little bit kind of more into what I call the distributorship channel. So trying to get into stores now. So that's another area of my focus. I'm trying to reinvent myself. Harry 1.0 was a competitor. Harry 2.0 was a YouTuber, and then Harry 3.0 is more like a barbecue ambassador. I was very fortunate to be invited by Weber to go to Chicago to help them launch their smoke fire pellet product. And a lot of companies are now contacting me because I have an online presence, and then they want me to sort of be their spokesperson. And I thought, wow, maybe that's a Harry 3.0 that I need to launch for the 2020 new decade.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, see, I use that. See, you rub the was it the all-purpose seasoning? I use that on my steak. That's what I cook when I eat at home. So it's just the one I go to all the time. I always have that on hand. I'll throw that thing on chicken. I'll throw that thing on. I haven't tried pork actually. Maybe I should try pork. But
yeah,
it's kind of like cooking a home one.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that they actually replace the salt and pepper shakes in the kitchen because they just put a little bit of my rub and it just boosts the flavor. It's no secret. It just contains the same flavor compounds, right? That amp up flavor. And, you can look at my list of ingredients. I don't hide anything. It's all there. I mean, you can go make it yourself, but, it's just a bit of a hassle. You could go find Worcestershire powder, which is not that easy to find, Some of the other components you can actually, get it in the store if you want to make it yourself. I always tell people to have fun cooking barbecue. Don't obsess over the ingredients because when you have good technique, you know how to create crust. You know how to create the right environment to convert the collagen into gelatin. The right tools and techniques to get the perfect amount of tenderness. That's really kind of all you need to know. It's not rocket science, and I distilled it down into basically a series of steps that anyone can follow. We want to have this concept called Harry's happiness in a bag. You show up at a party, a potluck, a tailgate, a campsite, you bring a little bag of happiness with you and spread some love in this world. Because that's really what barbecue is all about, right? I always tell people, barbecue is really about creating love, relationships, and memories. That's all.
Yep.
Because everything will fade. Am I correct? It doesn't really matter how many GCs you won or how many cars you own, how many businesses you own. At the end of the day, right, we all headed to the same place, right? Life will sunset. But what you want to leave behind is the ability to give love, receive love, have great memories, and have great relationships. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I like that. I think we'll actually end there. That's the perfect place to end.
Yeah, it is.
So, hey, we really, really appreciate you coming on this podcast. Again, I'm a big fan. I've subscribed to your channel. I watch it constantly, and you're my go-to guy when I need a recipe for something on the grill. So I really appreciate you taking the time out and chatting with us.
Anthony and Rusty, it's a pleasure talking to you guys. Anytime you guys want to shoot the breeze, let me know. I talk 8 hours in my class, so we can launch on any topic, and we can talk about the origin of barbecue all the way to quantum mechanics and how quantum mechanics and string theory have a play in actual barbecue science.
Well, it's my kind of night out. Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool. And yeah, we'll probably have to cut down on your classes. I know I've been meaning to, but I didn't know you do them so frequently. So that makes me feel better. Maybe I can just roll out there one of these next few weekends. But again, good luck to all your stage Harry 3.0. Is that right?
3.0. I'm trying to do 3.0 now. Yeah. So love to have you guys, and one of these days I'll pass across and we can hang out.
Sounds awesome. Good. And then real quick before you go, where can people find you?
Oh yeah, there you go.
They can find me on slapyourdaddybbq.com. I always tell people the world has switched to a video format. You can find me on YouTube. Let's go on YouTube and type in Harry Soo or Slap Yo Daddy. I have 200 old videos, 30 plus playlists to cover every conceivable topic that I think that you might be interested in. So check it out and come say hello. And people know that I respond to every single comment. So I really am fully focused on responding and, engaging my barbecue brothers and sisters in this wonderful sport of barbecue love.
Awesome.
Thanks
so much for your time.
All right.
So that was cool because, like I said, I'm a big fan of Harry Soo. Sorry, I really do watch all of his videos, and if you haven't heard of his YouTube channel, which there still might be some of you out there, you should check it out. It's very informative. The guy he goes into great detail, which I enjoy, and he covers basically every subject you can think of on the grill, and just does more and more all the time. But, and he's a charitable guy, like he says. He has his own job. All of his proceeds from barbecue go back to charities and things like that. So, I mean, it's a rare specimen, and he's a great guy, and I'm so happy we had him on.
Yep. Alrighty, guys. Well, that does it for this episode.
Yeah. You guys can find us on a lot of the podcast places you can listen to the podcast.
Yes.
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the Pitmasters podcast. And you can find us all of those in one place, the pitmasterspodcast.com. Also pick up some gear. You can pick up some sweet corn hats that someone bought. Someone bought a corn hat.
Yep.
I was really excited about that. They'll be rocking corn.
Yeah.
And then wearing our hat.
That sounds good. And then make sure you tell at least one or two of your friends about this podcast. Let's get some more followers there.
Yeah. Spread the word, guys. And we do appreciate all of you listening and your continued support. And we will talk to you next time. Well, we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk.
You'll listen.
Yep.
You will listen.